Last June, I had the pleasure to speak with you from Harper Library about the prospective academic year and about the values that inform the work of the university. Today, I'm speaking with you from Hutchinson Commons, one of the most beautiful buildings on our campus. I want to begin by urging all of our students to observe the health and the safety rules that have been established by our community for the months ahead. Social distancing, face masks, prudence in avoiding large gatherings. These rules are not capricious and they're not arbitrary. At a time when the national media is filled with distressing stories of irresponsible college students, it is important that we show that such errancies have no place on our campus and our community. Please affirm the faith and the responsibility that all of you have in our common welfare. Many hundreds of staff, faculty, and student leaders have been working tirelessly over the last 3 months to make our reopening possible. Let us reward their trust and hope in us with trust and hope in each other. The magnificent room in which I'm speaking was given to the University of Chicago by trustee Charles Hutchinson. Hutchinson was a banker in Chicago in the 1880s and 1890s and a local civic leader who collaborated closely with our principal patron, John D. Rockefeller. He was a tireless supporter of the spread of culture in the city, and his social causes were as varied as those which multiplied in the progressive era of Chicago society. His greatest civic role was to serve as president of the Art Institute, and from a small orphan-like establishment in 1882, upon Hutchinson's death in 1924, the Institute had already joined the front ranks of American art museums. An ardent social progressive, Hutchinson believed that the Art Institute had a responsibility to elevate the taste and sensibilities of the citizenry. And eager to spread this aesthetic revival, Hutchinson pushed the board of the Art Institute to offer free admissions on Sundays, and he advocated for locating the museum in the middle of the city, not in an isolated park, with a socially inclusive, outward-looking notion of who should be its audience. At the University of Chicago, Hutchinson served as the treasurer and the chairman of our Committee on Buildings and Grounds. And in this latter capacity, he exerted a very strong and vigilant guidance over the architectural proposals for the new buildings at the university. Hutchinson's enthusiastic jottings to William Rainey Harper in April of 1900 as he toured Oxford University looking for great ideas for the cluster of buildings at the corner of 57th and University, including the new Commons, which he financed and which is heavily indebted to the Great Hall at Christ Church College, Oxford. All of this confirmed his conviction that, quote, this city of ours would be richer, filled with higher intellectual life, had we more beautiful surroundings, more monuments of art, more buildings stored with books and paintings and sculpture, end quote. As President Ernest D. Burton later remembered about Hutchinson, he had a keen sense of the influence of architecture on the formation of taste and a very strong desire, happily shared by many of his associates, that what the university built should be built so that it would stand and be worthy to last. Hutchinson built for a long future. And this magnificent hall represents our strong conviction that liberal education should not be confined to classrooms and to laboratories, but that places of sociability should also encourage among you, our students, communities of learning and memories of solidarity and support that will endure over the generations. This great room thus affirms the university as a place of social solidarity, of stimulating relationships and fascinating intellectual exchanges, a place deeply committed to the practices of enlightened diversity, and a place in which lifelong friendships inform and empower the rigor of our curriculum and our distinctive academic culture. Institutions do not always become what their founders want them to become. As Wittgenstein wrote in 1940, the insidious thing about the causal point of view is that it leads us to say, of course, it had to happen like that. Whereas we ought to think it may have happened like that, and also in many other ways. But happily, our university has become the rich and diverse cultural community anticipated by the men and women who took the chance to open our doors exactly 130 years ago. At their heart, great universities are communities of people who come together with the desire to know and to learn. These communities ask different roles of different people, and different people bring different talents and interests to bear in those roles. Some stand on one side of the seminar table and others on the other. Some are senior scholars and experienced teachers, confident of their ways of knowing and learning. Others are students like yourselves who are eager to grapple with big issues in ways that those senior scholars cannot possibly anticipate. Colleges, in particular our college, are also creatures of history. They are repositories of memory and affection. They are the sturdy products of generations of intellectual exchanges and of friendships. And if they are lucky, they are also scenes of intense debates and often disagreements. And finally, colleges are communities which anticipate the future because they audaciously claim to be able to educate young people to take possession of that future. They inspire the young and give encouragement to everyone associated with them. They teach irreplaceable skills, and in particular the skills of the scholar: independence of mind, intellectual self-confidence, willingness to critically evaluate conflicting evidence, dispassion in the midst of controversy, confidence in the value of academic freedom and the free flow of ideas, taste, objectivity, and connoisseurship beyond narrow ideological preferences. We teach, and here I paraphrase Gramsci, on the belief that all students are intellectuals, each possessing an idea of the reality that stands to profit from a critical engagement with the past. Many people in our country today, on the right and the left, are skeptical of the state of higher education. But I believe that at Chicago, the idea and the practice of liberal learning is alive and well, and that in our college, we have a prime example of practicing liberal education right and doing it well. I also hope that you will remember that your education carries not only privileges, but also responsibilities. Futures are built of people, and the good of this nation depends on your compassion and fairness as well as your civic involvement, including voting. Martin Luther King once observed that democracy transformed from the thin paper to thick action is the greatest form of government on earth. To join this university is not only to enter its special world, but also to take up your responsibilities as trustees of our nation. As teachers, we believe that it is imperative to awaken people from what George Steiner once stigmatized as the planned amnesia of American society in the modern world, and to encourage our students to think critically about that world. I'm delighted that you've come back home to Chicago and to affirm with you our work in this great effort. Welcome home to your university.